Thank you, Vaishnuji, for coming for this occasion. And as my editor, Mr. Majumdar, very aptly described your role, that has saved a little bit of time at my end so that I can come directly to the point. But as he introduced your several firsts, so and the panel discussion which preceded this, which was tech in credit. So it's actually the technology thing which is driving even the financial world today, the banking world today, which is very apparent. And you are a man of technology. And as a man of technology, meaning you were earlier looking after telecom also, you continue to look after information technology and electronics, where large-scale reforms and changes have happened. And an added portfolio has come as information and broadcasting. And railways is also all about technology today. You have injected a great dose of technology over there. So it's about, you are building tracks, you are bringing platforms, you are connecting people. That's the role which you are performing greatly. So what are the next steps? Like India's growth story, if we look at it, how are these bits going to add up to the larger story?
Thank you, Rishi. And friends, thank you very much for inviting me to this conference, to the FE CFO Awards. Probably I'm the only one without a suit today. So, yes, thank you. And where's my friend Sharad? He's always in jeans. So that's good. At least some of us are odd persons out in this room. Good. Rishi, see, I would like to start with the point that you made. How does India's growth story stack up? And what's the thought process behind where we are today, government's policies, and how it's going to impact our economy going forward? Our growth story is a very well thought through growth story. If you recall, when the COVID struck the world, there were two different views. One view was a predominant view, helicopter money view, right? Even the Nobel laureates used to say that just print and start distributing. That was the view which practically everybody took. And that was the view that we were also getting as government. That was the advice we were also getting. Print, send it for consumption, and things will all fall in place. Our country took a very different stand, because even though printing money and giving it out for consumption can give you that sugar high, it cannot build the economy, it cannot rebuild the economy the way it's supposed to be. That's why we took the path of investment-led growth to come out of COVID. I'll share the numbers. FY20, 3.4 lakh crores capex program for the government. FY21, 4.5 lakh crore. FY22, 5.5 lakh crore. FY23, 7.5 lakh crore. FY24, 10 lakh crore. FY25, which we are currently in, it's 11.1 lakh crore capex. Now that has been the journey, and that required a lot of work on the part of government planners, execution, on the part of the industry, on the part of the suppliers, the entire value chain, the entire supply chain of construction industry, construction machinery, materials, all kind of industries got a very important multiplier impact. And if we talk in the terms of financial world, when we put in 100 rupees in the investment programs, our economy today, it's structured in a way that we get 360 rupees, 3.6 is the multiplier. So we get 360 rupees economic activity in the economy. And close to 60% of that is for the MSME sector. I've done some very detailed modeling of our economy, and when you put that 100 rupees, it takes about 32 cycles by the time it becomes 1 rupee, right? It takes that kind of thing. And even though infrastructure-led growth or investment-led growth can take 2.5, 3 years to give the final results, but the results are very sustainable results. And that is one of the big reasons why we have been one of the fastest growing major economy in the last few years, while the world was trying to struggle to come out of the COVID period, and despite the fact that the rich world printed about $9 trillion, if you add up what was done by the Fed and the ECB and the Japanese, combine the three, it was roughly about $9 trillion US, which was printed and put in the system. Despite that, there was a serious discussion about whether the rich countries are able to come out or not. And as a side effect, they had high inflation. Whereas in our case, we had a high growth, moderate inflation. So that's the path I can say today, because of this very well thought through economic policy making of the government and very clear vision of our Prime Minister, we can clearly see 6 to 8% growth in the coming at least 4 years to 5 years, with a moderate inflation of 4 to 6%. So nominal, we can say it will be around 10 to 13%, 10 to 14% nominal. So all the CFOs, now you know what target you have to give to your people.
That was very nicely put, sir. So this whole thing, what you're talking about, the capex, the growth story, and the increase in capex, this all requires a smooth run, that the wheels on the track run very smoothly. Not that you have been ensuring in the railways, but like from the larger economy, it's also the legal processes, the legal complications which sometimes clog the wheels. Say for instance, if we look at the data protection bill, it started much before you took charge of the ministry, and the first draft which was finalized by the legal experts, etc., was seen as a very complicated, very paradise for lawyers, if I can use that term. And it wasn't accepted by any sections, whether it is domestic or global. You took charge, you just simplified it. And the one which came, which has been passed, the rules are still to be formulated, that's a different thing, has been accepted very well by every section within the country, overseas. So that's like one. Telecom was a litigious sector. I think it was a sector which lawyers made fortunes because everything was in court. You drafted a new Telecom Act, and all these disputes are a history now. It's a thing of the past. So you have, now where is the next area where you think, whether it is railways or whether in the whether land acquisition laws, which are we have been lucky that all the semiconductor projects which you approved have got land, and they will come on stream as targeted. But which are the other areas where you think that the legal processes need to be simplified?
That's actually a very important point. And if you look at the history of our first and second term of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's first and second terms, we have taken about 1,500 laws out of the statute book and taken about 40,000 compliances out of the entire system. Lot more work is in progress, lot more compliances, lot more simplification has to be done. Let me put it in the context of the growth story. The first pillar of our growth story is investment, which I talked about. I talked about the physical investment, but there is investment in social as well as digital infrastructure. The second pillar is simplification. And this simplification that you talked about has been a major effort, and it requires tremendous amount of work to be able to take out so many of the cobwebs of past out of the statute book. And there is lot more to go, lot more to be done. In terms of the digital economy that you pointed out, we are creating a framework of digital regulation which on the one hand promotes innovation, on the other hand it prevents harms to our citizens. Because by now I have more than 25 plus counterparts all over the world, and every single minister dealing with communications and digital economy has expressed that the society is at threat, democracy is at threat, the institutions which have been built over centuries are getting negatively impacted by the social media, deep fakes, AI generated data, which is absolutely out of sync with the reality. So, lot more needs to be done on that front. So, the way we are thinking is there will be some horizontal laws. So, for example, the data protection law that you mentioned, this is a horizontal law, it affects every sector. Whether it is financial sector, medical, healthcare, every sector it affects. There will be some vertical laws. So vertical laws will basically, vertical regulations will be looking at sector specific regulation. So for example, the payment systems, RBI has a different set of regulation. Healthcare sector might come up with something else. But the building blocks will be very neatly structured. So that's the way we are thinking, and we are also consulting very extensively with the industry. The two laws that you mentioned, in case of telecom, the consultation process ran for 2 full years, and practically 35,000 consultations were done. 35,000. In case of data protection, the consultation had started way back 5-6 years back. There was a joint parliamentary committee also which consulted quite a few stakeholders. And when we withdrew the old bill and start working on the new draft, after that also we had 16,000 consultations. So it's a very extensive consultation process we are following, and the same process, same thinking we will continue to follow for the next set of regulations. But trust me, it's going to be simple.
That's nice to hear. As you spoke about the extensive consultative process which you engage in before coming out with any kind of a legislation. So it just strikes me that wherever you have entered, something has been there which you have withdrawn, and then you have brought something afresh. Say data protection bill was there, you recalled it, you came out with a fresh one. Telecom also, you came with a fresh act. There were efforts on this thing. If I remember, semiconductor also, the some subsidy model had come, which was not a uniform thing, but later you renewed it, you reviewed it, and you made it across all nodes 50% subsidy. So you generally take it back, look at it fresh, very clinical approach, and then you come out with a thing which generally gets accepted by the industry. So carriage you have dealt with in telecom. Platforms you have dealt with in electronics and IT, you continue to do, but largely the IT roles.
Here comes the controversial question.
It's the content which now you have come in.
Content is the most controversial.
And something was withdrawn also, a broadcasting bill, which was again controversial. So in content now which we see.
Let me take it head on. See, as I said, the democracy and the societies everywhere in the world are grappling with this question now. There are multiple approaches. One of the approach which has been followed primarily in Europe is the approach of shutting down things. The other approach, which is primarily in US, let everything move on. At some point of time, some equilibrium will come. There are other smarter approaches where a good balance between innovation and tight regulation is there. I think we in India can actually set the path for very smart regulation, because the kind of brain power we have, the kind of IQ we have in this hall and outside this hall, the kind of thinking ability that we have in our country, and the scale that we have on innovation, on startups, on tech, I think we are the ones who can really carve out a niche for bringing out that right kind of regulation. We'll be working in that approach. Content might require a multiple set of regulations. Some might be in the form of self-regulation. Some activities might be in the form of more like nudging the industry, and certain things which should be unacceptable for the society. For example, somebody makes a deepfake video of Mr. Khara, my good friend, and Mr. Khara then in that deepfake video says that, okay, take loan from a particular person, right? That's wrong. That should not be accepted by the society. That should not be allowed in a civilized society. So that kind of approach we will have to follow. It will be a nuanced approach which starts from self-regulation for large number of activities, a reasonable level of regulation for some activities, and for a very few select it has to be a big hammer which has to be put.
As you talked about deep fake, so it reminds me like, yes, as we move, especially in banking and the finance world, this thing with technology and tech in credit, obviously the cyber security issue also comes up as a big this thing, because meaning it's something which one has to be prepared for, because as you open the windows, apart from fresh air, flies also do come in, but we have to take measures to see that flies are contained.
So cybersecurity is definitely a very important concern for all of us sitting in this room, right? All of you keep grappling with this topic day in and day out. The good thing I would like to share with you is that yesterday only the World Cybersecurity Index came out. And India has been ranked among the tier 1 countries. So it's a big honor for all of us. And this is something all of us have collectively achieved. The entire industry, the IT industry, the tech world, the various sectors like the power sector, like the transportation sector, like the telecom infrastructure, all the critical infrastructure, the critical services, and overall work that the country has done. Today we are ranked as a tier 1 country, which there is a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 and tier 5. So tier 1 is what they call somebody to be emulated, somebody to be followed, so that's the put in. But this is, cybersecurity is a topic on which I would like to say that it is like a constant race between the guys who would like to cause harm versus the guys who are preventing that harm. So we have to continuously be on the job day in and day out to be able to do certain things that we are working on. One of the frameworks that we are working on is, can we have a UPI-like structure for cybersecurity? Because we have a large number of MSMEs in the country who would not be able to hire the resources or get the resources which are available to large corporates. So can we have a UPI-like structure for cybersecurity so that even the smallest, the person who is just doing business using either one laptop or one PC or practically on the mobile phone now, should be able to feel secure being in the cyber world? That is one. Second is, can we have very strong punishment for the cyber crimes? And we are working on that. Third, what are the technology solutions which are really cutting edge? And fourth, large number of coordination activities have to happen between various stakeholders in the cyber security field. So how do we have a very smooth coordination? So these are the items on which we are working at this point of time, and the results have been good so far, but we need to continuously keep working on it.
So you mean you will be coming out with a kind of a holistic regulation which
I think it is more of a technology piece, less of a regulation piece, because the punishments are in a sense already defined in the IT Act of 2000. We will need to enhance some of the punishments, but it's more of technology and more of making sure the human resources are capable of continuously stepping up to the challenges that we face.
So coming back to your another very important this thing which you rolled, that is railways. I mean, of course, with your coming in this government, this thing of Vande Bharat trains which started, which was coming after a long time, because
when the slip comes, you have to end.
Because we had, after Rajdhanis and Shatabdis, there was nothing much innovative which had come. So these trains have been very well received, and you have talked about that, these are the ones which, meaning we can show the way to the world with these trains. The noise levels, you have told that you have demonstrated that it's much, much less than any other trains globally also. But going forward now, people are waiting to see when do sleeper trains come over here.
So Vande Bharat is a very satisfying experience. It's a development done by our own engineers, development done in our country, which matches world-class trains across the world. But I would like to take maybe 3 or 4 minutes before we end and kind of share with you what our thinking process in railways is. If you compare railway with highway or road transportation with rail transportation, road transportation carbon dioxide emissions are about 100 grams of CO2 per ton carrying it for a kilometer. Compared to that, the carbon dioxide emissions in railways is just about 11 grams of CO2 per ton kilometer. So it's a 95% less carbon dioxide emissions, so 95% less polluting. In terms of cost, railways is practically 1/3 or about 40% of the cost of transportation by road. Now, every CFO in the world would like to have something which is less costly, something which is less polluting. Who would not like? Is there anybody who wouldn't like something which is less costly in this room, right? So, we as a country, we as an economy, have to make sure that there is enough railway capacity in our country so that every good, every cargo which can be transported by rail should be transported by rail. Unfortunately, for the first 60 years of our independence, railway never got the investments that it needed. Things changed in 2014 from a capital support of about 32,000 crore for such a large railway network. Today we have 2,52,000 crore rupees capital support from the government budget. So that kind of capex really is needed in railways to be able to come up to the economy's expectations. And the results are clearly visible in front of us. In first 60 years of railways journey since independence, the country electrified about 20,000 kilometers. Railways were electrified. In the last 10 years, 40,000 kilometers have been electrified. Now, put that in the context. One of the largest railway networks is the German railway network. It is 35,000 kilometers. So 40,000 kilometers is more than the network of Germany that we have electrified in the last 10 years. New railway tracks. 2014, it was just about 4 kilometers a day. And today it is 14.5 kilometers a day. So, last 2 years, we have added 5,300 kilometers of new railway tracks in just these last previous 2 years, because momentum got built. There was a bit of break in the COVID period, but then we continued the momentum, and today we are doing 5,000 kilometers a year. Now again, to give you the context, the whole network of railway network of Switzerland is 5,000 kilometers. So we are adding a Switzerland in terms of railway network every year. And that's very essential. The results, if you look at it, now we are carrying 700 crore people every year. Last year we carried 700 crore. Just short of it, 697 to be precise. And now we are carrying 1,600 million tons of cargo. Because of the increased activity of building, constructing railway lines and manufacturing more locomotives and wagons, we have added 360 million tons of cargo. Now, to understand what it means, if we add cargo, we are basically shifting it from the road. That means we are preventing CO2 emissions, right? So if you translate this 360 million tons into how much carbon dioxide is saved, if we would have planted trees to absorb that much carbon dioxide, it would mean that this adding of 360 million ton cargo is equivalent to planting 72 crore trees. So it's humongous. It's so beneficial for our environment, it's so good for our economy that we must keep doing more of it. We must keep adding more railway tracks. Today we are world's largest locomotive manufacturer. Last year we manufactured 1,200 locomotives. If you add many geographies, the whole of Europe and many large geographies, it would be more than that. We are manufacturing now 30,000 wagons every year. If you again add many geographies, it would be more than that. And our very sharp focus on safety has given us results. 10 years ago, it was about 171 accidents a year. That is now reduced to 40 accidents a year. And the efforts are very serious to further bring more technological solutions, to train our people better, to have better processes that we can even go down further on this. In terms of the index, which is how many incidents occur every million kilometers of passenger travel, if you take that index, today our index is a very respectable number if you compare many other geographies, including the United States and Canada and South Africa and many other European countries. So in a sense, there is a very complete, very holistic view of where in our economy railways is placed, right? How it's going to be a multiplier for the economy, and how do we make sure that it comes up to the people's expectations. On many, continuously we are working very hard on this, and our Prime Minister's focus on railways is so real. Today we are rebuilding, not just painting or just refurbishing, rebuilding, reconstructing 1,164 stations as we speak, and the total number that we have taken up is 1,339. That is world's largest station redevelopment program. All this is going on in parallel, and that's the way our Prime Minister wants all of us to work. So we are lucky that we got this kind of leadership, and I thank you all for giving the historic third term mandate, because after 60 years a leader has been re-elected third time. So thank you all of you for this. Thank you very much.
The second slip comes. No, thank you, sir. I just wanted to add one thing before we conclude, is that when I began, I said Mr. Vaishnav is a man of technology. In conclusion, I would like to add, he's a man of technology as well as a man of finance, because the way he has explained everything in numbers makes him more qualitative as well as quantitative.
I'm a student of finance and technology.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.